A 58-year-old homeless man walks into Judge Caprio's courtroom accused of stealing food. But when the judge discovers what this man has been carrying in his backpack for 12 years, he does something that no judge has ever done before. I'm warning you, what happens next will absolutely destroy you emotionally. This isn't just a story about a homeless man. This is a story about the most beautiful act of kindness that's been hidden on the streets of Providence for over a decade. And when Judge Caprio finally discovers the truth, what he does becomes the most touching moment in courtroom history. But before I show you this incredible story, less than 4% of you watching are actually subscribed. So please hit that subscribe button right now, because Michael's story deserves to reach everyone. It's a cold November morning in Providence Municipal Court, and Judge Frank Caprio is moving through his usual morning docket. Traffic violations, parking tickets, small municipal infractions. The courtroom has its familiar rhythm. Defendants waiting nervously, attorneys shuffling papers, court staff preparing for another day. At exactly 10:45 a.m., the bailiff calls what appears to be a routine petty theft case. But what happens in the next 40 minutes will become one of the most shared and most emotional courtroom moments ever captured on camera. Through the heavy courtroom doors shuffles Michael Torres, a 58-year-old homeless man who looks every bit like someone who's been living rough for years. His clothes are layered, a worn jacket over two sweaters, pants that have been patched multiple times, boots held together with duct tape and determination. But what immediately catches everyone's attention is the large weathered backpack he's carrying. It's clearly been with him for years, faded, repaired with different colored threads, covered with layers of weatherproofing tape. He holds onto it like it contains the most precious thing in the world. Michael moves slowly toward the defendant's stand, and despite his obvious poverty and hard living, there's a dignity in the way he carries himself. He removes his worn baseball cap respectfully as he approaches, his weathered face showing the lines of someone who's seen both hardship and held on to hope. Michael James Torres, the court clerk announces, reading from the docket. Michael steps forward, placing his backpack carefully on the floor beside him, but keeping one hand on the strap, always maintaining contact with it. Judge Caprio looks up from his paperwork with those compassionate eyes that have made him beloved around the world. He's seen thousands of cases, but something about this man's protective stance over his backpack immediately captures his attention. Mr. Torres, Judge Caprio begins gently, you're charged with shoplifting from Morrison's grocery store, specifically taking a loaf of bread, a jar of peanut butter, and a gallon of milk without paying. The total value is $12,040. How do you plead? Michael's voice is quiet but steady. Guilty, Your Honor. I took the food. I was hungry and I had no money. Judge Caprio sets down his pen, that familiar gesture that signals he's about to move beyond the legal formalities into something more human. Mr. Torres, can you tell me about your circumstances? Help me understand your situation. Michael glances around the courtroom nervously, then back at Judge Caprio. Your Honor, I've been homeless for about 6 years now. Lost my job, lost my apartment, lost everything. I live on the streets, try to find day work when I can, but it's hard at my age. I understand, Judge Caprio says with genuine compassion. And that day at Morrison's, you were simply hungry? Yes, sir. I hadn't eaten in 2 days. Judge Caprio notices that throughout this exchange, Michael hasn't let go of his backpack for even a second. His hand remains firmly on the strap, as if he's protecting something far more valuable than any possession a homeless man should have. Mr. Torres, I hope you don't mind me asking, but I notice you're very protective of that backpack. What's inside that's so important to you? For the first time since entering the courtroom, Michael's composed exterior cracks slightly. His grip on the backpack tightens. His eyes show a flash of something. Not fear exactly, but a deep protectiveness. Your Honor, it's personal items. Nothing illegal, I promise. Just things that matter to me. Judge Caprio's intuition, honed by 3 decades of reading people, tells him there's something extraordinary here. He stands up from his bench and walks around to the front, his signature move when he senses a deeper story. Michael, I've been doing this for 30 years, and I've learned that sometimes what matters most to people tells us who they really are. Would you be willing to show me what's in your backpack? I'm not asking as a judge right now. I'm asking as one human being to another. Michael looks around the packed courtroom. There are maybe 40 people watching, other defendants, court staff, a few reporters, some regular observers who come to see Judge Caprio's compassionate rulings. Your Honor, people might not understand. They might think I'm crazy or dangerous. Michael, Judge Caprio says gently, I promise you there's no judgment in this courtroom, only understanding. Please share with us what you've been carrying. After a long moment of internal struggle, Michael nods slowly. With trembling hands, he lifts his backpack onto the defendant's table and begins to unzip it. What happens next will shock everyone in that courtroom and eventually millions of people around the world. As Michael opens the backpack, the first thing visible is that it's immaculately organized despite its worn exterior. Everything inside is protected in plastic bags, carefully sealed against weather and damage. Michael reaches in and pulls out a large Ziploc bag containing dozens of photographs. Not just any photographs, missing children posters, carefully preserved and protected. Your Honor, Michael says, his voice beginning to shake with emotion. 12 years ago, I found my first one, a missing child poster that had blown off a telephone pole. It was raining and the poster was getting destroyed in the gutter. I picked it up and I saw this little girl's face. Her name was Emma Rodriguez. She was 7 years old, missing for 3 months. Judge Caprio moves closer, looking at the photograph Michael is holding. A beautiful little girl with dark hair and bright eyes, smiling at the camera in what was probably a school photo. I couldn't throw it away, Michael continues. I couldn't let her face be forgotten, washed away in the rain. So I kept it. I protected it. And then I started seeing more missing children posters around the city, on telephone poles, in store windows, taped to bus stops. And I started collecting them, keeping them safe. Michael begins pulling out more plastic protected bags, each containing carefully preserved missing children posters. 5 posters, 10, 20, 30. Your Honor, I've been collecting and protecting these for 12 years. 47 missing children, some from Providence, some from other cities, some from other states. Every time I find a poster that's been torn down or damaged by weather or forgotten, I take it and I keep it safe. The courtroom has fallen into absolute silence. People are leaning forward in their seats, trying to understand what they're witnessing. But Michael isn't finished revealing his secret. That's not all I do, Your Honor, he says, reaching deeper into his backpack. I also keep these. He pulls out a worn notebook, its pages protected by multiple layers of plastic wrap. He opens it carefully, and Judge Caprio sees pages filled with handwritten notes, addresses, phone numbers, and detailed records. Every missing child poster has information, a phone number to call, an address to write to, details about where the child was last seen. I write it all down, and Your Honor, I've made it my mission, my purpose, to never let these children be forgotten. Michael's voice breaks with emotion as he continues. I know I'm homeless. I know people see me on the street and think I'm just another bum, another nobody, but I can do this one thing. I can remember these children. I can keep their faces safe. And whenever I get a little bit of money from collecting cans, from day labor, from kind people who give me spare change, I use it to buy stamps and envelopes. Judge Caprio's eyes widen. What do you mean, stamps and envelopes? Michael pulls out another Ziploc bag, this one containing carefully written letters, stamped and ready to mail. I write to the families, Your Honor. I send them letters telling them that their child isn't forgotten, that someone out here is still looking at their baby's face every day, still hoping, still praying they come home. I tell them about where I've posted their flyers, where I've shared their child's information. The emotional impact of Michael's words ripples through the courtroom. Several people are openly crying. The court reporter has stopped typing, just listening in amazement. How many letters have you sent? Judge Caprio asks, his own voice thick with emotion. Over 300 in the last 12 years, Your Honor. Whenever I can afford a stamp, I send another letter. Some families have written back. They thank me. They tell me it means everything to know someone still cares, still remembers. Michael begins pulling out more items from his backpack. News clippings about missing children, printouts from library computers with updates on cases, hand-drawn maps showing where he's posted flyers. Your Honor, I've walked every street in Providence and many streets in nearby towns, posting these flyers wherever I can. Store owners know me. They let me put up posters in their windows. I check on them regularly, replace them when they fade. Judge Caprio picks up one of the protected posters, looking at the face of a young boy. Michael, this is from 2015. You've been carrying this child's face for 9 years? Yes, sir. That's Marcus Johnson, 10 years old when he went missing in Boston. I found his poster in a trash can. Someone had thrown it away. I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't let him be forgotten. Michael's hands are shaking as he shows Judge Caprio his carefully maintained records. I keep track of every child, their names, their ages when they disappeared, their last known locations, their physical descriptions. I memorize their faces. At night, when I'm trying to sleep on the street, I look at their pictures and I pray that they're safe somewhere, that someone is taking care of them. Then Michael reveals something that breaks everyone's heart. Your Honor, 4 of these children have been found. 4 of them came home to their families. His face lights up with genuine joy despite his tears. Emma Rodriguez, the first poster I ever saved. She was found 3 years ago, alive and safe. Her family wrote to me. They sent me a photo of her reunion. I keep it here. He shows Judge Caprio a photograph of a little girl, now older, being embraced by her crying parents. On the back, written in careful handwriting, "Thank you for never forgetting Emma. You kept her memory alive." The Rodriguez family. I have letters from 4 families, Michael says, pulling out more carefully preserved envelopes. 4 children who came home. And every time I hear that one of these kids has been found, it makes every cold night on the street worth it. It makes every day of hunger, every moment of hardship, meaningful. Judge Caprio has tears streaming down his face as he looks through Michael's meticulously maintained memorial to missing children. Michael, you've been doing this for 12 years, using whatever little money you have to mail letters to grieving families, walking the streets, posting and maintaining these flyers, all while being homeless yourself? Yes, Your Honor, it's the only thing I have to give. I don't have money, I don't have a home, but I have time and I have a good memory, and I have a heart that breaks for these families. So I do what I can. And that day at Morrison's grocery, Judge Caprio says, understanding dawning. You were stealing food because you'd spent your last dollar on stamps? Michael nods, looking down. Yes, sir. I had collected enough money for 3 stamps. 3 more letters to 3 more families. I chose to send those letters instead of buying food. I thought I could make it another day without eating. But I couldn't. I got too weak, too hungry, so I took the food. And I'm sorry for that. I'm willing to accept whatever punishment you think is fair. What Judge Caprio does next becomes one of the most beautiful moments in courtroom history. He turns to his bailiff. Would it be possible to bring a chair for Mr. Torres? I think everyone needs to see what he's been carrying more closely. As Michael sits, Judge Caprio begins carefully laying out the contents of the backpack on the table in front of the bench, treating each item with the reverence it deserves. 47 carefully protected missing children posters, hundreds of pages of notes, letters ready to be mailed, photos of reunited children, thank you notes from grateful families. Ladies and gentlemen, Judge Caprio addresses the packed courtroom. What you're seeing here is one of the most extraordinary acts of compassion and dedication I have ever witnessed in my 30 years on this bench. He picks up Michael's notebook and reads from it. Listen to what this man has written. Day 3047. Checked all posters on North Main Street. Replaced 2 that were faded. Saw Marcus's poster at the library, still in good condition. Prayed for him today. Hope he knows someone remembers. Judge Caprio's voice breaks as he reads. This man has been keeping a daily journal of his mission for 12 years. 4,000 days of remembering children who others have forgotten. 4,000 days of choosing their needs over his own. He turns to Michael. You spent your last money on stamps instead of food. You chose to go hungry so that grieving families could receive letters of hope. You've turned your own suffering into a mission of love. Then Judge Caprio does something unprecedented. He removes his judicial robe and drapes it over Michael's shoulders. Michael Torres, stand up, please. Michael stands, confused, with the judge's robe over his shoulders. I want everyone in this courtroom and everyone who will watch this video to see something. This man is wearing my robe because he has shown more justice, more compassion, and more dedication to serving others than most people who've ever worn this robe. Judge Caprio addresses the courtroom with a voice full of emotion. Not only am I dismissing this shoplifting charge completely, but I'm doing something I've never done before. Michael Torres, I'm appointing you as an honorary guardian of missing children for this court and this community. The courtroom erupts in applause, but Judge Caprio raises his hand for quiet because he's not finished. Furthermore, effective immediately, this court will establish the Michael Torres Fund for Missing Children. Every dollar collected will be used to help Michael continue his mission. Stamps, envelopes, weatherproof materials to protect posters, and yes, food, so that he never has to choose between his mission and his survival again. Tears are streaming down Michael's face. Your Honor, I don't deserve this. I'm just doing what anyone would do. No, Michael, Judge Caprio says firmly, you're doing what almost no one does. You're taking nothing and turning it into everything for families in pain. You're proof that you don't need wealth or status to make a profound difference in the world. You need a heart that cares. Judge Caprio then makes a phone call right there in open court, just like he's done in legendary cases before. Mayor Gonzalez, this is Judge Frank Caprio. I have someone in my courtroom you need to meet immediately. Someone who's been serving the families of Providence and beyond for 12 years without anyone knowing. Within an hour, representatives from the Providence Police Department Missing Persons Unit, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, the Mayor's Office, and 3 local news stations are all in Judge Caprio's courtroom, meeting Michael Torres and learning about his 12-year mission. The detective from Missing Persons looks through Michael's carefully maintained records with amazement. Mr. Torres, the details you've kept, the timelines, the locations, the physical descriptions, this is better record-keeping than many official databases. Would you be willing to share this information with us? It could help active investigations. Michael nods eagerly. Of course, anything that helps bring these children home. The representative from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children is equally moved. Mr. Torres, what you've done independently without resources or support is extraordinary. We'd like to work with you officially. We'd like to help you expand your mission. But perhaps the most touching moment comes when Judge Caprio makes one more announcement. Michael, I've spoken with the director of Hope House, a supportive housing program here in Providence. They have an apartment ready for you today. Not a shelter bed, a real apartment. And they're offering you a position as a community outreach coordinator, helping them connect with homeless individuals who might have information about missing persons. Michael's knees buckle and court officers rush to steady him. An apartment? A job? Your Honor, I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept. Say you'll let us help you the way you've been helping others. I accept, Michael whispers. But can I ask one thing? Anything? Can I still keep my backpack? Can I still carry their faces with me? I've been carrying them for 12 years. They're my family now. Judge Caprio smiles through his tears. Michael, you can carry them forever. but now you'll carry them with support, resources, and the gratitude of everyone who hears your story. What happened after Michael's case was posted online created a nationwide movement of support for missing children and recognition of the power of individual compassion. Within 24 hours, the video had been viewed over 15 million times. Within 48 hours, Michael had received over 20,000 letters from people around the world thanking him for his dedication. The Michael Torres Fund for Missing Children raised over $1.2 million in the first month alone. The money was used to create a comprehensive database of missing children posters, fund reward programs, and support families with missing children. 3 major television networks interviewed Michael, and his story became the centerpiece of a national awareness campaign about missing children. His face, alongside the faces of the missing children he'd protected, appeared on billboards, buses, and social media across the country. But the most incredible result came in the form of tips. Because of the massive exposure Michael's story received, 7 of the 47 children in his backpack were identified and located. 3 were found alive and reunited with their families. 4 were tragically confirmed deceased, but their families finally got answers and closure. The families whose children were found alive all credited Michael's dedication with keeping their cases in the public eye long enough for someone to recognize them. 6 months after his court appearance, Michael Torres returned to Judge Caprio's courtroom, not as a defendant, but as an honored guest. He was there to receive a special commendation from the governor of Rhode Island for his service to missing children and their families. Michael, now living in his own apartment and working full-time as a missing persons advocate, stood before the same bench where he'd once stood accused of stealing food. But this time he was surrounded by 7 families, the families of the 7 children whose cases were solved because of the attention his story brought. One mother, whose daughter had been missing for 6 years and was found alive in another state, spoke to the crowd. "Michael Torres never met my daughter. He found her poster on the street and decided she mattered. For 6 years, while others forgot, while hope faded, Michael Torres kept her face safe. He kept her memory alive. And because he refused to let her be forgotten, because his story went viral, someone recognized her and called the tip line. My daughter came home because a homeless man with nothing decided that her life meant everything." Michael told reporters Judge Caprio didn't just dismiss a charge that day. He showed the world that everyone has something to give. "I didn't have money or power or influence, but I had time and I had love, and I had a refusal to let these children disappear into silence. That was enough." Today, Michael runs the Torres Foundation for Missing Children, a non-profit organization that trains volunteers to maintain missing persons posters, supports families with missing children, and advocates for homeless individuals who often see things that might help solve cases. He still carries his backpack, though now it's supplemented with official resources, a smartphone with missing children apps, and the support of law enforcement agencies across the country. And he's trained over 500 other volunteers, many of them currently or formerly homeless, to do what he's been doing for years. Remember the forgotten, protect the vulnerable, and never give up hope. The 47 faces that started in Michael's weathered backpack are now part of a national database that's helped solve dozens of missing children cases. 4 of the original 47 came home. 7 more were located after Michael's story went viral, and 13 others had their cases advanced with new leads. And guys, I want to ask you something that I know Judge Caprio and Michael would both want me to ask. What's the most powerful act of kindness you've ever witnessed? What's a moment when someone with nothing gave everything? Drop your stories in the comments below, because Michael's story reminds us that we all have something to give. You don't need wealth or status to change lives. You need compassion, dedication, and a refusal to let others be forgotten. If this story moved you, if Michael's 12-year mission and Judge Caprio's compassion touched your heart, please share this video with someone who needs to be reminded that heroes exist in the most unexpected places. Like this video if you believe in honoring those who serve others silently, in supporting the homeless who contribute to their communities, and in never forgetting the missing. Subscribe for more stories that prove one person with nothing but love can change the world. And remember Michael's words: everyone deserves to be remembered. Everyone deserves to know that someone out there still cares, still hopes, still believes they matter. Thank you for watching, thank you for caring, and thank you for helping spread Michael's mission of never forgetting the forgotten.